of people know that I'm a little bit of an odd duck. I've done some things and been some places that a lot of people haven't done or been, if you know what I mean. And so an example of that was I did a lot of my high school education in Australia. In fact, a lot of my school years were spent there from about 8 to about 16, so a lot of my childhood. And I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit about both about my experience and about the idea of, quote, free education. And that's the subject today on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt. Today is Friday, the 21st of May of 2021. Welcome to everybody who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, or wherever else you happen to be coming in from. Thanks for visiting. And again, the subject today will be free education. What a concept, what a plan. I'm going to go ahead and read my notes real quick so that you'll have some idea where I'm going today. This is sort of the pre-recap, but capitulation that lets you know basically what I'm talking about. Only people who've never been to other countries can honestly believe American public education compares to the education systems of many other countries. It's never been our institutions of learning that have made the U.S. a special country. Instead, it's been the fact that pretty much anybody can reach upward here. Education level aside, doesn't matter. Social status aside largely. Not totally, but largely. As a student in Australia, when I came back to this country, and I want you to think about this, I had a high school education. Now you're thinking, yeah, so what? After leaving the 10th grade there, I had an American high school education. I found out in my 11th grade year that I did in the United States, the only reason I had to go there was for English, and my English was better than my English teachers. Okay? So I had a high school education walking out the door in Australia. In fact, they gave you something they called a school leavers certificate that made it so that you could go into trades at grade 10 in Australia. So really you had what amounted to the education that was required in Australia in the 10th grade, which is part of the reason that it worked like that. You can bet things have only gotten worse in the 40 years since that was true. Bet things have only gotten worse. It's time to explode two fallacies. The first is that free education, which is not free, improves things. And the second is that the U.S. has ever been substantially advanced by comparison to any other country. It's our innovation and drive that put us on top of the world. It will be those things that will keep us there if we continue to practice them. I could stop now, right? I think I've said most of what can be said. But I wanted to point a couple of things out. First of all, free education is never free. Somebody pays for that high school, that elementary school. Even the preschool, if the government finances the preschool. And frankly, even if they don't, maybe the people who are putting the kid into the preschool pay for it, but somebody pays for it. You find this out in a serious kind of way if you put your kids in private school. Suddenly you end up with a tuition to pay. And that tuition is not horrible, but it's not cheap. And let me just tell you something. It's almost always less than the same amount of money that technically is spent on each student for that given period of time. Okay? But here's what's really important to me. In Australian school, like I say, I went all the way up to the 10th grade there, and I got a school leaver certificate. That's how I know you can get one. That's how I left Australian school, was to get a school leaver certificate, so that when I went back to the United States, I could say, here's where I was in the 10th grade in in Australia, and they said to me, yeah, okay, come on, you're ready to go to school. So I went to Hawaiian school, Waikia High School in Hilo, Hawaii. And when I went there, the only thing that was actually required of me as a student is English for junior and senior year. And it was really kind of ridiculous because the English curriculum was quite lax there. And again, I spoke better English than my English teacher. She was a great lady. I like her real well. I remember she had deformed hands. And initially it freaked me out a little bit, but I came to realize it meant basically nothing. She was a great lady. I really liked her. That having been said, though, what I needed to do when I was in school, when I came back to the United States, almost didn't exist at all. There was almost nothing there for me to do, right? And this is an important realization. What I'm trying to say here is that the Australian school system was technically in advance of what was going on in the United States. My brother came back to the United States with 2 C's, 2 D's, and an F, matriculating from Australian school, finishing his schooling in Australian school. And they told him, gee, it's a shame you didn't get the F. You could have 2 years of college in just about anything based on what you've done so far. That's literally what they told him. Now, he probably should have gone for that. Probably should have done something with him where he said, yeah, I'd like to see if I can do coursework to make up for that F. And they probably would have done it, and he probably would have ended up with a 2-year degree as a result. The point of all of this is that the U.S. has never been about expecting our education systems to make our successes. I'm not saying that there's nothing to getting an education, and I'm not saying that it's not beneficial to you, but what I am telling you is the fact that it's beneficial to you is not really that important a thing, and I can show it to you very easily. I can name you some names, okay? I can name names like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg, and I can say, did these people finish college? Even if they finished college, that's not what made them rich. It is not what made them well off. And they're very rich. Let's not, I don't know about Jeff Bezos, whether he went all the way through college or not, couldn't tell you. But my point is this. As often as not, maybe more often than not, people who have been successful in the United States in a variety of ways, some of them to do with money and some of them not really horribly to do with money at all, have not been college graduates. They have not been college graduates. That's the way this country works. It's possible for you to grab the brass ring on the way around on that merry-go-round and for you to go places that you would never have imagined. I'm going to say something that I've said any number of times because I want it very clear that this is where I am. Partially because it will help to forge a path for other people who are doing the same sorts of thing that I'm doing. I have a degree of ignorance to go along with my degree of stupidity. That's the sum total of my degrees. I don't have a degree in IT. I don't have a degree in physics or chemistry or any other massively intellect skill. My ability to work as now a senior software developer has been a result of the fact that I have worked to figure out the various things that I needed to know along the way to make myself a viable asset for others. That's it. It didn't matter that I had, well, it did matter that I had the degree. To be fair, I will acknowledge that having a degree will often make it easier for you to get places faster than if you don't have one, if you're willing to take the loan to get that degree or to pay it off as you go. As for me, I looked at where I was and I said, I can no way possibly afford to go to school, even with what at the time was a program called the Veterans Education Administration Program, I think, VEAP, which replaced one of the GI Bills when I was in the military. I still couldn't afford it. And I looked at it and I went, nope, can't afford that. And I never went to college. Now, I've done college courses. And I could do college courses if I wanted to do them. I have just not found that it was sufficiently beneficial to me at this point in time for me to take the time to do that work. That's just where I am these days. And you can like that or you can hate it, but it's the reality for me. And I could afford it now. Time-wise, maybe not, but monetarily I could afford it. This is what I need for you to understand, though. This idea of free education, the first thing that it does is makes the assumption that free education is a good thing. And I question that because I think that free education makes for education with no competition because everybody's going to go for the free education rather than to pay if they can do it, unless they realize that it's actually badly affecting the people they're putting through that system. But free education is not so important a thing when you consider that in the United States, the people who are successful are often just people with a lot of drive, willingness, and hard heads. People who work hard, put their heads down, get to work. I'm not as successful as I should be because I'm not as much of that sort of person as I should be. I'm working towards it, but I've got other things that kind of hold me back. They're my fault, they're my problem, but I have them, and that's the thing that has to be considered there. What I want for you to understand is, though, education is okay. It's a good thing to have, don't get me wrong, but when you start looking at the importance of it with regard to how important it is, but in terms of being a success in various ways, let me just tell you straight up, it's not as important as you think. And you can do a lot of that education yourself without ever going through any education system in order to get it. Okay? So that's what I wanted to talk about today. That's sort of what I was trying to cover. Don't think that free education is necessarily a great idea. So this idea, we're going to make a 2-year college degree a free thing. So you just kind of devalue the college degree because more people probably will get one as a result. All right. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, I'm Kurt, and today is Friday the 21st of May of 2021. That means tomorrow will be Saturday, May the 22nd of 2021. Again, thank you if you came here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, wherever it happens to be. Remember that my favorite platform is Rumble. I don't really care for YouTube all that much for a variety of reasons and things that I see them to be doing. Subject today has been, oh yes, you can, just to be clear, you can, by the way, like my videos on YouTube. You can of course dislike them if you want to do that as well. You can give me a positive rumble on Rumble or a negative one if you really want to. I would prefer that you didn't, but if you have a reason to do so. And of course you can comment on any platform that I happen to be on that you're able to do that. The subject today has been free education. Tomorrow's subject is going to be business taxes. And this is something I don't think a lot of people have really thought through to the level that they ought to have done. I just want you to know that, and we'll talk about that some more tomorrow. But tomorrow will again be Saturday, so today is that end of the week and the beginning of the Sabbath that I guess sundown, and then tomorrow is what most people consider the Sabbath, because when they rise they actually observe it. So happy Sabbath to you tomorrow if you happen to be a Sabbath keeper. I am not, by the way, just so you know, not in that sense, not in the sense that a lot of people think it right to do so. In any case, hope you're doing well today. Hope things are going well for you in general. I am looking at actually getting back to work here on my day job real soon, so things may go a little bit funky for a little bit on my videos, but I'm going to continue to try and do what I'm doing. Hope that things, as I say, are going well for you, and hopefully we will see you again on tomorrow's Daily Summation. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Friday, May 21st of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that, and you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.